Welcome back to Mootechie. In our last video, we took a big picture look at India's dairy industry. Today, we're getting up close and personal. We're going to learn how to identify the key parts of a dairy animal, and most importantly, how to handle them safely and confidently. This is essential knowledge for anyone working on a farm. Let's get started. First, let's do a quick overview of our last class. We covered the introduction to animal husbandry and the huge role livestock plays in a farmer's income and security. We looked at some amazing numbers from the 2019 livestock census and saw how India leads the world in milk production. We also compared cattle and buffalo and learned the difference between sturdy Indian breeds and high-yielding exotic ones. Finally, we went over some common terms you'll hear on any farm. Now let's move on to today's new material. Why is it so important to know the body points of a cow? Well, for a few really good reasons. It allows for clear communication. If a vet says there's an issue near the hook or the dewlap, everyone needs to know exactly what they're talking about. It helps in immediately recognizing the breed, sex, and purpose of an animal. It's crucial for locating injuries during health checks and for judging and selecting the best animals for your herd. And finally, it's essential for properly applying treatments and managing the animals every single day. Now let's familiarize ourselves with some of the major external body parts. The horn is that keratinized process that emerges from either side of the pole. The dewlap is the fold of skin hanging on the lower surface of the neck. The hump is that fleshy protuberance on the top of the shoulder, common in our Indian breeds. The udder is of course the structure containing the mammary glands that secrete milk. And on the udder you have the teats, which are the small protuberances through which the young one suckles milk. A very important feature for a dairy animal is the milk vein. That's the prominent vein you can see on either side of the abdomen, just in front of the udder. And of course we refer to the legs as the forelimbs and hind limbs, and the body is divided into the forequarter and the hindquarter. Knowing these parts is one thing, but handling the animal safely is another. So let's talk about handling and restraining dairy animals. Handling and restraining dairy animals. On a dairy farm, approaching, handling and restraining animals are daily routines for milking, medical treatment, or artificial insemination. The number one goal is to do this in a way that keeps both the handler and the animal safe and stress-free. The objectives are clear: to perform farm operations safely and painlessly, to minimize danger to everyone involved, to allow for veterinary care and artificial insemination, to collect samples, to use tools properly for better control, and even to train animals for shows or work. So what's the right procedure? First, always ask the attendant if the animal is docile or nervous around strangers. Try to judge its behavior from a distance. Always approach the animals from behind and from their left side. Never approach directly from the front, as that can seem threatening and irritate the animal. Once you're near, try calling the animal and speaking to it in a calm voice before you make any contact. Gently touch or pat the back of the animal to reassure it. If the animal is lying down, speak to it first, or gently touch its hindquarter to get its attention before asking it to stand. And a critical safety tip: always keep a safe distance, as animals can kick sideways and backwards with surprising speed and force. And always be mindful of the horns. Now let's get more specific, starting with handling cows and buffaloes. The best time to examine a stall-fed animal is during milking time, when it's accustomed to being handled. In a loose housing system, you should drive all the animals to the manger area, where it's much easier to isolate and hold a specific one. A common way to restrain a cow is by gently but firmly grasping its horns and nostrils. If you need more control, you can use a bull holder or even toss a lasso at the end of a long rope around the animal's neck. Handling bulls. Handling bulls requires extra caution. Young bulls under 18 months need very little restraint for breeding purposes, but older bulls require much more care and control. A common practice is to put a nose ring in the bull's nasal septum at about 1.5 years of age. This ring is a huge help for leading and controlling a strong bull. Always use a halter, and you can handle a bull safely by holding a rope tight to the halter and then through that nose ring. For a particularly vicious bull, a bull leader can be applied to the nose ring to apply pressure and encourage cooperation. And if a bull is being very aggressive, one effective method is to simply blindfold it before handling to help calm it down. Handling a young calf. Finally, let's talk about handling a young calf. To handle a young calf, first separate the one you need from its group mates in a corner. A safe way to hold the calf is by grasping its hind limb above the hock joint. While you might see some people grasp a calf by the ear, this is actually not a desirable method, as it can cause them stress and discomfort. And that wraps up our lesson on handling and restraining. It's all about patience, respect, and using the right techniques to keep everyone safe. If you found this guide helpful, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps our channel. Share your own handling tips or questions in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to Mootechie and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next video, where we'll dive deep into the specific breeds of cattle and buffalo. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy and safe farming.